welcome to week 3 of communications campaigns. I'm glad that you're back, and we've got a lot to cover this week. Again, we're trying to learn all about best practices in campaign development, campaign planning, campaign implementation and execution, as well as measurement and evaluation. And we're using the new rules of marketing and PR as sort of our foundational textbook, augmented by additional material that I'm going to be putting out to you all through the Joule system. So let's just recap kind of where we've been. So we've done the intro, we've done first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, and the videos and the discussion board. And so just wanted to kind of go through chapters 2 and 3. Chapter 2 was the new rules of marketing and PR, and chapter 3 was about reaching your buyers directly. And so the author talks about a lot of case studies. And so, one of the ones that they talked about was an adventure he and his wife went on with a private glass igloo in Finland. And these folks use Twitter really effectively and their website, and they were able to find them online, and they thought they had a great website. And really the author talks about the fact that we're in the midst of a communications revolution in kind of human history. So everything from where we were with the printing presses, fast forward up to the internet. And it's really important that we're always learning and growing and studying, getting new skills so that we can reach out to our buyers as they look for products and services that we're trying to sell. And so it's really important that we're producing content that does well with search engines and in social marketing. And so that'll be a big part of your campaign that you're going to develop, is thinking through, the type of information that you're going to want to put out there. Another case study he talked about was OpenCycle and Cervelo Cycles. They were the first folks to use blogging and video of the Tour de France. And what really struck me there was that their content was very authentic. Not only did it do well in search engines and help market them, but it created this community of enthusiastic bikers that really, it's the whole know, like, and trust factor with your customers. And so they've created this community. They had a very active Q&A feature, commenting feature on their blog, and they were able to use Twitter to kind of grow that. One of the other concepts that the author talked about was the long tail of marketing, and this was a concept that was popularized by a guy named Chris Anderson. And it basically says that our culture and our economy is really shifting away from sort of a small number of big wins or big hits towards a huge number of niches in the tail, which basically it's no one size fits all, and it's going to be a lot about high volume in very niche markets. And so that's just another good concept to be aware of. Some of the key points that I thought were important is that your content is really going to drive your action, and so you are what you publish. People are searching for answers to their problems. They're looking for what your organization has, and they're looking now. And so it's about creating that content, that just right content. That's usually it's aimed at a very narrow target constituency. And so when you're developing your target audience and your ideal avatar, you're going to really want to get into the nitty gritty of that. Another good example that the author talked about was Amazon. Amazon is people, they know that people are looking, they know people are browsing, and people are searching, and their website's been optimized for browsing. And so they will tell you about other items that they think you might want to buy based on the buying patterns of what you're looking for. They're trying to anticipate your needs and provide content to you so that they're meeting you before you even ask. They understand keywords. They are creating that content based on those keywords. Things like reader-generated reviews on books and tagging, they're really effective at that, and it's really driving their sales up. The author basically says, and I agree, there's this convergence of PR and marketing that's occurring. and that great content can really brand your organization as a trusted resource, and making sure you put those call to actions into your material so people know, are they supposed to buy, are they supposed to subscribe, are they supposed to apply, are they supposed to donate, whatever that call to action is. But tying it back to what your goal is your goal to add revenue or build traffic, gain donations, just generate sales leads for your funnel. One of the great case studies they had in the book was about the Concrete Network. And that is really about connecting buyers and sellers in that concrete residential product and service market. They have sort of a find a contractor program. There's a lot of good free content out there and photo galleries. They get 10 times the traffic on their website as their competitors. And they trace it back to the CEO's philosophy, which is educate the marketplace and, figure out what that product or what that problem is that you're trying to solve. And then write stories about it like you're a publisher. And so they actually make concrete interesting. It's really important to know what your goals are when you're developing your campaign, and as you create that content around what problem you're solving and what action you're trying to drive your constituents or buyers to do. So it's really important that you're defining your business goals, and that you're making it easy for buyers to take the next logical step with you. The book is going to talk a little bit later about this, but your content can also brand you as a thought leader, whether you're a personal brand or you're Coca-Cola or you're Disney. And so some of the material that is in that is really, really for future reference. But chapter 3 really moves us into reaching our buyers, and it's so important to craft compelling copy and then tell everyone on the web. There's a example in the book about an organization called Zero Trash, and it was a nonprofit formed out in Laguna Beach, California, by a guy named Chip McDermott. And he really used the web to rally community and start this grassroots movement. And he really effectively used Facebook and Twitter to create First Saturdays, where he just had people going out collecting trash, and then it's kind of gone viral, and it's expanded to these other coastal towns out in California. Another example is you can use YouTube to grow your business. And the example the book gives is around Century 21 Real Estate, which is like a franchisor of real estate. But, when you let the world know what your expertise is, and you act like a publisher, and you create that content that people are really eager to consume, that's really going to build your brand, do effective things for your future campaigns. The book also talked about an eco resort in Belize. It's called The Lodge at Chalk Creek. And they just put out a lot of great content about their rainforest wildlife. They perform really well in high rankings in search engine marketing. Their website turns out is better than the big chain hotels, and it's led to actual bookings for them. And so while in the past people may have spent a lot of money on TV advertising, it may not generate the revenue. And so putting that good content out there and showing off that you really know your stuff, or you're providing additional information that people are looking for. There was an example of a plumbing company in Omaha, Nebraska, that used the web to grow their business. But I think the best example that really focused on the target marketing was the example that they gave around college websites. And so for a college website to really be impactful, you need to have 5 different personas that you address content to, and really breaking it down into those distinct groups and cataloging everything about them, because it's going to make it easier for them to find information on your website. For example, alumni, breaking them down into people who've only been out 10 years, people who've been out more than 10 years. You're trying to get them to give money. The high school seniors that are applying to college, how are you going to attract them and make sure that they can apply and get their applications complete and their parents can follow up with them, versus your current students who just may have routine questions, just you want them to make sure they're coming back semester after semester, and then the parents of your current students and what kind of questions do they have. So identifying your audience is really going to be important, understanding what their problem is, And then developing the content to kind of get them that information is really going to be important. And it's the critical step is making sure that people know where they can go to take action, whether it's buy or donate or complete a form. Good example was Mike Peterson, who's a golf trainer, and he put a lot of free articles out there, tagged things in photos, and he uses search engine marketing to drive his online course sales. He's capturing people's email addresses, and he's really branded himself as a leader. And so it's important that you start with a content strategy, and then you can focus on the mechanics of what you're going to say, when you're going to say it, and how you're going to say it. But some of the questions you're going to need to answer in your project are who are you trying to reach? How's the best way to reach them? What are they motivated by? What problems do they have that you're trying to solve? How can you entertain them and inform them at the same time? And then what content is really going to compel them to take that next step to buy from you what you have to offer? I think another great case study in the book was about Trinity Cathedral. It's a church, it's an Episcopal church in Cleveland, Ohio, and their minister, they do everything from email newsletters, blogs, podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, and they've created this virtual congregation where they found that the majority of their congregation is online, even their elderly congregants. And they also have been able to attract a very diverse population. They looked at all different types of audiences, whether it's 20 and 30-year-olds, empty nesters, boomers, the LGBT community, single moms and dads, and they have been just modifying and refining their social media strategy to grow their presence as a thought leader, as a church that people want to be a part of their community. And so I thought that was also a really great example of how you can put a campaign together that can be ongoing and multifaceted. So the next thing that you're going to need to do is we're going to move into the second part of the book where we're going to talk a lot more about blogs and news releases, podcasting, video, social media. And I'm going to put together what I call the 10 steps of campaign development. The first is going to be situation analysis and really understanding the landscape that you're operating in. And the second one is going to be your SWOT, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis, both your internal and your external factors. And then we'll move into the target audience. And then what we'll do is we'll move into sort of what your objectives are in terms of your goals and objectives in terms of knowledge or behavior changes that you're trying to drive, looking at if there's any barriers or motivators that your audience is up against, creating a positioning statement or a brand in terms of what is it that you want to have happen. And then you start to develop your strategic marketing mix where you've got your messages, your tactics. It's sort of the meat of your campaign and whatever kind of visuals you want to use. And then you'll obviously need to have a plan in place to monitor and evaluate to know if your campaign worked. And, what kind of budget are you going to need? Facebook ads cost money. So what are you going to do that's free or what you may need to get money for? And then you'll have your detailed implementation plan, which is really the roadmap and the nuts and bolts of who, what, when, and where. And so I'll put this together for you to serve as a resource that you can follow throughout the semester as you create your final project. And I think it'll be a nice roadmap for you as you get smarter about campaign planning, analysis, all of the front end things that need to happen in order for your campaign to really be effective, repeatable, scalable, something that you can refine. So I think you'll find that interesting and a helpful tool as you go through the 15 weeks of this course. So I hope you have a great week, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Thanks a lot.